When the United States joined World War I in 1917, none of the millions of young men who enlisted or were drafted ever expected to be sent to the remote areas of northern Russia. Clem Grobbel was one of these men who would later adopt the nickname of Polar Bears.
Clement Anthony Grobbel was not only a distinguished World War I soldier, he also was my grandfather, and he was one of the 5,000 plus polar bears who had been sent to North Russia in September of 1918 to fight the Bolshevik Red Army.
Clem was born in Warren, Michigan in November 1895. As a child, he loved being outdoors and worked on his father's farm. In May 1918, Clem was drafted into the U.S. Army and was sent to Camp Custer, Battle Creek, Michigan. He was assigned to 339th Infantry Regiment, and by July was on his way to England. While in England, the 339th was ordered to go to Archangel, Russia, to guard supplies sent there to help the Russian Imperial Army fight the Germans. However, Russia was in the midst of a civil war that pitted the Imperial White Army against the Bolshevik Red Army. The Bolsheviks were communists. Clem arrived in Archangel in September 1918 and immediately headed down the railroad. All of the arriving Americans were sent out piecemeal, company by company, all along the various rivers and the railroad. They caught up with the retreating Bolos and had quite a fight. The situation in Russia was not a good one for the American soldiers. They were under British command, which the men despised. They were also given meager rations, which they had to augment by shooting small game and trading with locals. Through all the privations, Clement Grobbel kept up a positive attitude. In a letter home, he remarked, "This life is not bad. It is like hunting rabbits, only on a bigger scale." The terrain also left much to be desired. Surrounding Archangel was swampland and stunted pine forests. Clem wrote home saying, "We only see the sun a few hours a day. If you stand in one place too long, you will sink in water over your shoes." However, in October 1918, winter came and the swamps and rivers froze over. The temperature plunged well below 0 degrees as the snow continued to pile up. The men of the 339th found out that the war in France ended on November 11th, and they thought they would also be going home. On November 20th, Clement wrote home, "But I should not worry. We are all through fighting here." He was grossly mistaken. Clement was in Russia until June 1919. He again wrote home in February 1919, "The war may be over in France, but it is not over here in the wild of Russia. This is not the Western Front. It is hardly no front at all." From December 1918 until they left Russia in June 1919, the Polar Bears would be on the defensive. With the winter freeze, the Bolos were able to bring heavy artillery across the frozen areas and attack in force. Most times, the Americans were outnumbered 6-1. Clement wrote home about his time fighting. "We've been guarding railroads and fighting Bolsheviks. You have to keep your head low," which I did. He did keep his head low, except on November 4, 1918. On this day, his detachment came under heavy fire from the Bolos. The American soldiers took refuge on one side of the railroad embankment, while the enemy was on the other side.
2 days after he turned 23 years old, he was in the machine gun emplacement on the west side of the railroad when the Bolsheviks attacked from the east side. Well, he was unable to direct his fire on the attacking Bolsheviks. So what he did was to grab his machine gun, carry it up the side of the railroad embankment, which was quite steep, and open fire on the attacking Bolsheviks.
All this time, the Bolos were concentrating their fire on him. He stayed at this position until the enemy was repulsed with heavy casualties. For his gallantry and heroism under fire, Corporal Clement Grobbel was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, our country's second highest award for valor. Finally, the orders came for the Americans to leave the horrid conditions in Russia behind. In June, Clement boarded a ship bound for Brest, France. After a couple of weeks in France on a boat ride, Clem arrived in the United States. On July 4th, 1919, Clement was part of a parade in Detroit, celebrating the polar bear's return. He was discharged on July 7th, 1919, and returned to his home in Warren, Michigan. Clement eventually married and raised 7 children. He established a cement block business, dug basements, and poured concrete.
Growing up as a kid, so I didn't see him as a hero. I just saw him as my grandpa. When I would share his story with others, and particularly the part that I knew him as a janitor, it just goes to show you got heroes everywhere, even in the school, maintaining the boilers.
On March 30th, 1977, Clement Grobbel passed away. He was 81 years old.